PR Connections Radio presents this episode of the PR Connections podcast is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PR Connections radio show. My name is Guy Dawson, and I am your host. And I am super excited about interviewing a very good friend of mine for many years who runs a company that does some of the most amazing work and just an overall good guy, Steve Goldstein, owner of Print Alliance. He is the guest on the PR Connection show today. Welcome, Steve.
Well, thank you, Guy. I'm looking forward to being here.
Steve Goldstein and I met through one of the greatest organizations in the history of mankind, which is Toastmasters International. And from that experience, our friendship has grown through the years. Gosh, I guess I've known you. When did you join Toastmasters out here, Steve?
2003.
Right. So you were already a member when I joined in 2007. And just through the years, we've done lots and lots of things. For those of you who don't know what Toastmasters is, it is the largest speaking and leadership organization in the world. And Steve and I, we've done, more things that it would take the whole interview, right, Steve? If we could just our Toastmaster experiences that we've had together.
That's true. That is true. And we had conferences and meetings in California. So Guy and I did many road trips to California and back. That's a lot of car time, a lot of stories, a lot of good memories.
A lot of fun. Yeah, you and I had a lot of fun and still do have. But yes, those road trips, Steve, wow. Going to the different areas of Central California. And you really do cement relationships. You learn a lot about a person when you go on a road trip with them, right, Steve? You're in the same car together. You really learn a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, as I had mentioned before, Steve and I, we know each other through this organization, which is Toastmasters International. But one of the reasons why I wanted to bring him on today is to share some of his entrepreneurial journey. Steve is really, in my opinion, he is a master printer. And print and design is such an important aspect of business from a marketing perspective, from branding perspective. Me being someone who runs a public relations and advertising company, I have a real admiration for what he does specifically because I know the value of image and doing things the right way. And Steve, I've always talked to you about, I know a lot of people out there who print, but I don't necessarily believe that they are printers and that there is a difference in that.
That is so true. They don't have the magenta running in their veins like I do. But I go back to before I moved here to Las Vegas, I was 26 years in Boston, Boston, where they pack the car out in Harvard Yard. But I sold printing there, very expensive printing to advertising agencies and large corporations, in-house graphic departments. And I loved it because it was very challenging. They would design things and I would tell them if it was flawed, it wouldn't print well, or if it would print well, or the best way to do the projects that they were thinking of doing. And it was rewarding financially. The more hours you worked, you just made a lot of money. It was good times in those 80s and early 90s. But one thing that I learned is how to communicate with buyers and how to help them produce their products. And that carried over in my industry. They asked me to teach a course in how to sell printing. So that was with Pine, Printing Industries of New England. It's part of PIA, Printing Industries of America. And I did that for about 14, 15 years. My class was very popular. My sense of humor would always come out. It was great. But it taught me a few things, that mentoring other people was a real passion of mine. And in the company I worked for, I became sales manager, and I brought in and trained salespeople and taught someone who worked at a copy center how to sell expensive printing and make 2 to 3 times as much money once he got off the ground. And I have some friends back there that, owe their livelihood to me, but it's not true. They did it. They just needed the guidance. But we both know from Toastmasters how important mentoring is. I know that in Toastmasters, they have what we call gavel clubs. Those are clubs where people can't qualify as Toastmasters. You have to be 18 years of age, and you have to be able to go to training twice a year. So our prisons have gavel clubs for those people that are in prison and they want to improve their public speaking and leadership, and high schools. And I mentored Foothill High School here in Henderson for 14 years. Twice a month I go in for about 3 hours, and there'd be 2 sessions, each one with about 18 to 24 high school students. And that mentoring really comes out. It's so rewarding. They really eat it up like a sponge. Darren LaCroix says, be a sponge. Let it soak in. These are great opportunities to share your knowledge and wealth.
Yes, and I've always really admired that about you, Steve, is that you are definitely committed to other people's success. And some of the best conversations that we've had through the years, you had an extensive education as a younger person, going to one of the best printing schools in the world to learn how to be a printer. And after you had graduated from college, as you've already talked about, you really got into the sales aspect. So I've always, in listening and knowing your story, I always feel like you really have gotten the best of both worlds, which is the technical knowledge that you gained by going to a really good school that specialized in excellent printing. And then, of course, this great sales training and developing into a great salesperson, which is, I think those are 2 of the biggest components for a successful business. If you understand the technical aspect, and then if you're really good at selling, I mean, that's a huge, huge thing for a successful business, is somebody's got to get out there and sell. And so I've always, maybe you could speak to that, is the way that you've learned to blend your knowledge, extensive knowledge that you have in printing, with this sharp salesmanship that you were talking about a second ago.
Sure. First, to just give you the short background, when I did graduate RIT with 2 degrees in print management, 80% of the people who were studying printing family were in the printing industry. So I'm one of that 20% that I just had a love for that industry. And when I graduated, I worked on the inside for 6 years in 3 states. And then I had lunch with my fraternity brother, and he was growing his 3rd generation printing company. And I told him I was really tired of my desk being a deli counter, next, just managing, a company. I had probably 15 office staff working for me. And I told him he should hire me in sales and I'll help him grow the company. And he says, Steve, you're an inside person. You've never sold before. I said, I've managed sales forces, but you're right. I've never gone out and sold. So he hired me as a salesperson. And after a few years, my sales exceeded his, and he was running the company, and I was the top salesperson. And we grew, and we brought in new salespeople and trained them. But if I had a good month, the company made money. If I had a bad month, the company didn't make money. So I was a real intricate part of that third generation company. And with my addition and the new salespeople we brought in, we were able to buy another press and just grow that company. But sales is different in printing. You know, if you're selling office furniture and someone buys a bunch of chairs for their conference room and they get them and they don't like the blue color, they decide they want brown. Well, you can take them back and put them in the warehouse and resell them. But when you do 10,000 brochures for a company and they don't like the color and they won't pay for it, there's nobody else going to buy that. And eating it doesn't taste good. I don't care if they use soy inks. It's just not what you want to do. So the way that you go about sales and printing is to soft sell customers and educate them at the same time. It's the most successful group of techniques. You can ask closing questions that can't be answered unless they're going to buy that from me. Example, Guy, do you want the samples to come to you and the rest to go to your warehouse?
Sure. Come to me.
Right. So every once in a while I say, well, wait a minute, Steve, don't rush it. I don't know who's doing this job yet. But if they answer the question, I just softly move myself in there. The days of, please sign on the bottom line really doesn't work. It's a hard sell. And many times you have to, see what the buyer is looking for. See who the buyer is and make friends with them. People like to talk about their interests. So you look around the office and I see a boat and a picture of a boat and his family, and I go, oh wow, I see you have a boat. Where do you launch it around here? And all of a sudden you get someone to talk about what they really like. And in the end, I become a lot more palatable than just the people that come in and do straight business. It's a great opportunity. There's another technique that I taught called the Columbo technique. When I'm with you, Guy, and after the interview is over, or I'm telling you about my company and I want to sell you printing, and I thank you for the time, and I get up to leave, and all of a sudden now you're relaxed because this interview is over. And I say, oh, by the way, Guy, I have a client on the next block. Is it okay if I come by and show you samples maybe every other week? And usually you get a sure, why not? And I just got permission to come back every 2 weeks, and eventually I could break that account. There are other techniques that work extremely well. I was working for a very large computer company, and they kept asking me to quote on the same thing over and over. So I put a grid together and I labeled it contract pricing. Well, they had 6 buyers. Well, 4 of them, after 6 months, started to go to this grid and just give me the orders instead of bidding, because they had the prices, made their job easier, and they all looked at it as contract pricing, as if we had a contract together. And in effect, it was just my idea to make their jobs easier. And in the end, I sold about 8 times the amount of printing that I was doing before I did the grid for them. So soft sell is a lot better and a lot easier to close that kind of business, to make the buyer's job easier, to caution them when something may not print well. And, just continually educate yourself about who the buyer is and what their needs are. Not about what your needs are, but what their needs are.
Yeah, I think that is, I have interviews with successful entrepreneurs all the time, Steve. And one of the common things that I see amongst people who are able to maintain businesses for long periods of time, as you've been running your business for many years. And the thing that I see over and over again is that they are legitimately interested in the success of their clients. They go above and beyond the call of duty to look out for their customers, from the sales process to the way that they actually deliver the product to the customer. It is important to them to take care of that person from end to end. And I've experienced this with you, with business that we've done together, and also in other aspects of me watching you in your interactions with other people who you do. You really are concerned about the end to end, really taking good care of that client.
Yes. I have a quote that's right here to my left, and it says, "Don't concentrate on making a lot of money. Concentrate on being the kind of people want to do business with." And it's so true. If you keep your focus correct, and it's not about you, it's about relationships and helping them do their jobs better and meeting their needs.
And I know another passion of yours, Steve, or what has been a passion, is networking. Connecting with other people, supporting their success, which in turn, I know you were a part for many years of the BNI franchise, which is one of the biggest networking organizations in the world. You had a leadership role within that organization. Will you share with me how being a part of that organization, I would imagine you were probably already a pretty strong networker before you got into BNI, but how did being in that type of an environment regularly, starting chapters, running chapters, how did that make you even more effective as a business networker?
Well, my experience in networking started in Boston, where I was selling printing, and I was asked to be part of this networking group. And I found it to be another interesting way to share leads and business. And again, it's one person per profession, and you get one lawyer and one real estate person and one printer and one of everything. And some groups are larger than others, as you said. So I joined this group in Framingham, Massachusetts, Natick, Massachusetts, in my town. And we meet once a week, and you listen to what they do and you refer people to them. And in return, they refer people to you. So I was there 6 months, and they saw my leadership potential. They put me in as an officer. And then the two other officers says, "We're going to go to training." I said, "I love training. What are you talking about?" "We're going to go become certified networkers. It's a 50-hour certification." I said, "That's a big commitment of time. Forget the money, but it's a big commitment of time." So I did this, and I became what BNI calls a certified networker. And I had to do a marketing plan, how to market myself and how to help other people market themselves, and how to really get the most out of the referral base that we do. If I help you get what you need, in return, I'll get what I need, which is business. So again, it's putting other people in front of you. Then I moved here to Las Vegas, and I met my good friend, Leslie Taylor, who is the franchise person of BNI here. And these groups become pretty close knit. You meet with them once a week, and you're getting business. They're giving you business. They're calling you up for referrals. Do you know anybody that does this? And you become a main source for everybody. And that's a good thing. It's a really good thing. because the amount of business that slides down from all of this is a tremendous asset. Whether you're a realtor, an insurance agent, a printer, it's really a great opportunity. So I called Leslie and said, okay, I'm new here. I'd like to find a new BNI group. And she sends me to a few and calls me later and says, what do you think? I said, well, do you have any better groups? She says, what do you mean? I said, well, they don't do this, they don't do that, they don't get this. And I said, you've got 12 chapters here, and I came from Boston, and we have 126 chapters. And the level that we were at was a lot higher than what we had here. So within 4 weeks of meeting Leslie, she asked me to be one of her directors. Well, at that time, I was the only director. And she had some others, and I was her assistant director. I was her number 2 person. I shared all the training with her. I did new member orientation on this side of town. She did it on the other side of town. In the end, we started doing it together. We did training twice a year, so wouldn't have to listen to her the whole 2 hours. We switched it up back and forth. So I loved it. That's part of my passion, helping other people and mentoring. And the true factor about how referrals really work and how to thank people for that is really great. You have someone that joins and I see him in the parking lot and he says, this isn't working for me. I said, really? Well, have you been doing this, and that? He says, well, I'm not giving any referrals until I get any. I said, well, you're right. It's never going to work for you. Got to have the right attitude. And the right attitude is, it's not about you. It's not tit for tat. You've got to help these other people, and they have to see the kind of person you are so that they're willing to put their name behind a referral to you. But if you're going to be that way, I don't want to give you a referral. Why would I risk my reputation for someone that's selfish? So there's a lot to learn with networking. I really, really enjoyed those 14 years. I resigned because of Toastmasters. As I moved into the trio and I was on my way to be the district director of Toastmasters for all of Las Vegas, plus I could not run my company, do Toastmasters, and do BNI. So I gave up BNI and moved on to be the first district director of District 115 when we split from California back in 2019.
Yeah, those were fun times, Steve. We were serving together. As Steve had mentioned, he's the first ever director for District 115, and he was a part of my team from District 33 when I was district director, and we represented all of Southern California. So we served together. Yeah, boy, we had some great times, didn't we, Steve? What a journey that was together.
And I'm in the middle of helping work on this conference for District 115, May 2nd and 3rd at the Gold Coast. And we've got sponsors and we've got a great new kind of conference booklet that we're putting together. And it's very exciting. It really is.
Yeah, the organizational leadership, Steve, you were talking and when you were speaking about networking and the relationships that you developed and the way that you were actively helping members of these chapters, mentoring them on ways that they could be more successful. You're right. Networking doesn't just happen. You have to go out there and make it happen. But the organizational leadership concepts that we learn, especially when you move up into these higher leadership positions within Toastmasters International, how has that helped you as a businessman? Because I know you have a team of people that you work with as well in your business. It's not all just you. And when you, learning and understanding organizational leadership, right? The hierarchies, how to get projects done, because you're always working on projects. I mean, that's the essence of what your business is all about.
It was an incredible experience. But the first thing I have to say is that if I knew how much work it was going to be and the responsibility on my shoulders, that I'm responsible for everything that happens in Southern Nevada, I don't know if I would have done it. But however, let me tell you, it was one of the most worthwhile experiences of my life. I got training from Toastmasters. They flew us twice a year for the 2 years, because 3 years before I took my office. So the 2 prior years, that's 4 training sessions that were several days. And we were trained by world-renowned people that I never would have even got to meet, let alone sit next to at lunch, the executive director, Dan Rex of Toastmasters International, and talk about barbecuing and cooking and recipes and making homemade bagels. And, we'll talk about Toastmasters, but you're talking about other things. Or the leaders throughout the world that would come in and you'd learn from their wisdom. So those experiences I never, ever would have had it not been for me moving up in leadership in Toastmasters. What did that do for me? It gave me another level of finishing, another level of skills and techniques of how to better communicate with other people, how to bring hostile forces down and herd them together and have everyone come out with a smile. I mean, those are difficult things to do, but that's part of the training, because in a Toastmasters club, not everyone's going to see eye to eye. They're going to be fractions, and they're going to be cliques that bump heads, or leadership people that bump heads, and it's up to us to go in.
The girls want you, Steve.
Yeah, I have three rescues, and they're telling me that it must be UPS at the door. So, Haley. All right. We got it. Haley. Thank you. There's that truck. It's like a little boy. Oh, a truck. Boss, the plane. My thought. The leadership and the skill sets that we got when we trained to be district directors and Toastmasters was another level of skill sets that I never would have gotten to that level. I mean, as a businessman, as a salesperson, I could take seminars, I can do this and that, but you're talking about a world. There are people from all over the world that we met and sat with and trained with that had different experiences than I, and how I could learn from their wisdom. It was, again, one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And here I am. I'm still a business owner. I'm still, loving what I'm doing. I absolutely love what I do. And I'm trying to slow down a little because I'm working too much. So January, I started not taking on new clients except by referral. In other words, if one of my clients refers someone, then fine. How did you hear about me? Well, okay, great. I got somebody else to send you to. I'm not taking on new clients. Oh, Guy Dawson sent you? Okay, sure. I'll help you out. But that's all working to help me get a little bit more time for me. I'm extremely happy and proud. I'm a blessed person that I have the business I do, and my biggest client is bought out by Hilton, and now Hilton has become my customer, and I'm now a national vendor for them as well as Blue Green, and it's just incredible. I got a phone call this morning from a brand new resort that is opening up in downtown Chicago, and they're going to buy $10,000 worth of printing from me. It's this incredible opportunity. Things are really good for me business-wise, and I'm just trying to balance it between life, personal life, and be able to still produce for my clients and help them with their projects and have time for me. In the last 2 years, my goal was to learn how to run my business from my laptop so I could travel. And my wife and I, for the last 2 years, have traveled 4 trips a year. And we've got 4 this year, and we're working on 4 for next year. So as long as we have our health, we're just going to keep going. And I've got great employees that I can count on to fill in for me if I get on my laptop and answer their questions and tell them what to do and email back my clients. And I'm making it work, Guy. I'm making it work.
Yeah, it's been great to see you enjoying yourself with all this travel, Steve. Again, knowing how many years you've been putting a lot into running your business, service you've been doing. There's a great, so along with Steve's mentoring that he does in Toastmasters, and of course he's talked a lot about the networking things that he's done and helping people, but Steve has also been really prominent in the nonprofit world here in Las Vegas with a wonderful organization that I'm very familiar with, which is called HopeLink. Maybe you would like to talk to everyone, Steve, about your service in that way, going in and really helping to grow this nonprofit organization that provides a lot of valuable services in the community.
Well, let's put this in a positive spin. I got to HopeLink, and I was helping them with their printing, and the executive director left, and there was a new executive director, and I told the previous director I could save them so much money on their printing if they just did this. And they didn't want to do it. And the new director said, sure, we're a nonprofit. I'd love to save that money. And the next week she asked me if I would join the board of directors. So I said, I'd be happy to. I do enjoy that. I've been on some other board of directors before. Well, this board of directors was not, that's the best way to put it. They weren't really following any structure. They didn't have any structure. So I had to determine the best way to come into a chaotic situation and help them. So the first thing I focused on was image. No one knew who HopeLink was. They help with emergency housing. They help with food and utilities and all sorts of great things for people in need that fall through the cracks of the other organizations. And they're in between. So HopeLink helps them get back on their feet. It's not a permanent. It's for like 3 weeks, 3 months. That's it. It's to help them. So as a printer, my job was to get their name out there. And we started, going to other nonprofit meetings and being supported there, getting bumper stickers, magnets, getting our name out there, making a stronger alliance with the Henderson Chamber of Commerce. And we started to do this. Then I was asked to become president. And I was president for 3.5 years of a $2 million to $3 million nonprofit. And as it grew, and as we got a more appropriate executive director after me, that allowed this organization to grow. Right now, they're probably a $13 to $15 million nonprofit and still growing by leaps and bounds. So I can actually say that my experience there was, getting them organized, knowing that they needed, HR manual, know that they had to have a job description for all of these whether they were case managers or whether they were receptionists. You had to have a list of their responsibilities. They were just way too loose and no organization. And we came in there and we built the structure so that they could start growing. And I know, Guy, you do that. You start nonprofits. Well, this was already started. It was successful, but it could never go anywhere unless it stopped, got the structure, got the right people in place. Everybody knew what their job was so they can move ahead and grow.
Right. Yes. And again, HopeLink is really one of the success stories in Southern Nevada in terms of nonprofit organizations and the value that they give to the community. And everyone that I know over there, I have some pretty good connections over at HopeLink, and they just speak so highly of you and your assistance, your mentoring, how you help that organization to really get on track, to be able to provide that type of value that they provide for the community. I mean, that's the real reason for running a nonprofit organization, as you know, Steve, is to be able to provide that type of value. You fill in a lot of the spaces within a community that aren't covered by the government or anyone else other than a nonprofit. So running it well, it's just like running a business. I think that some of the challenges that people have when they start nonprofit organizations, or I've experienced it, I experience it a lot with the things I do in the nonprofit world, is they more look at it like it's just, they have big hearts and they want to give. And I mean, that's a wonderful thing. But boy, if you don't run it like an organization, and if you don't run it with structure, like a business, as you had mentioned, it's very difficult for you to be able to continuously provide that service because there's just no organization. There's no structure. You're inconsistent is what generally I see that happens with those types of organizations.
I have a great formula. And my formula is I have, these timeshares that I'm doing business, in 34 locations in 28 states and growing. And they pay the overhead, they pay the electricity, they pay for everything. So Toastmasters, I donate well in excess of $2,000 worth of printing a year. HopeLink, I print their reports, I print their business cards for all their people. I do that at cost. There are other nonprofits like Hearts Alive Village for dogs and rescue. I do printing for them. I help them with projects. Things I charge them for is a little above cost or cost sometimes. Sometimes I just don't even charge them for things. And then my church, once they found out I was a printer, that slowly came around because I'm just a giving person. I do some really nice projects and clean up a lot of the things that they have to buy online from these companies that do things for churches, and they pay too much money and it's too generic. And for less money, I can make it customized and they logo on it, and it's a heck of a lot nicer and more beautiful, and they appreciate it. But that's gives me the other side of the fulfillment, that I'm so blessed with the amount of business that I'm getting from my main clients that it allows me to help out the nonprofits. And that's a really good thing. When I was teaching sales, I asked people in the class, I said, have you ever taken the tombstone test? They go, what? I said, yes. What would you like written on your tombstone? That you sold a lot of printing? That you had a lot of toys, boats and cars and all that stuff? I don't think so. For me, it's that I'm a good person and I gave back to my industry. I gave back to my community. I was a good provider. I was a good husband. I was a good so on and so forth. And when you really think about it, I would bring it up at the next class. And anybody think about it between last week and this week? Every single one of them said, absolutely. That was something that just made me really think about my life for a minute. What is important in your life? Well, we talked about the travel and everything. What we didn't talk about is my best friend next to me, my wife. Ivy speaks 5 languages. She's lived in 7 countries and visited 34. She is my ambassador to the world. And I have to tell you that the both of us are so happy we met and married so we can grow old and travel together. And those are the important things in life.
Yeah, Ivy is a wonderful person, Steve. And again, it's just great to see you living your best life at this point. You're still running your business and you're traveling. You're still active in Toastmasters. I want to be you when I grow up.
Well, I'm keeping young, and as long as I have my health, this June I will have my 75th birthday. I'll be down at my favorite resort in the Caribbean, Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, and I'll be having a great time.
Yeah, well, keep living your best life, Steve, and thank you so much. And this is the first podcast that Steve has ever been a guest on, and it just it makes me feel good to have one of my best friends for so many years to be here. And I just appreciate our friendship, Steve, again, and our the mentoring that you've done for me in business and so many other areas of life. And just keep being you, Steve. You really exemplify what I would call a community leader.
Thank you, Guy, and thank you so much for inviting me into your living room here for your podcast. I enjoyed it. I mean, we talk over lunch, we talk over breakfast, we talk right now. It's all good.
Right, like I told you, it'd be kind of like that, right? Well, thank all of you for tuning into the PR Connections radio show here at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. If you visit our website, you can listen to archives we have 13 different shows that we are broadcasting on our network now. We have a vast array of topics, so please visit our website, prconnectionsradio.com, to watch more shows. Did you also know that you can listen to this show and others on our network on Spotify? And so our audio streaming presence is continuing to grow. And so please just stay tuned for more broadcasts here at the voice of new media, PR Connections Radio. I hope you have a fantastic day. See you soon.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.